Hey, you stop underrating fragrances. Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Today we're talking about the great injustice that is underrating fragrances. Yeah, maybe that's actually not the biggest injustice in the world now that I think about it, but that's still what we're talking about. Now, it would be easy to just get fragrances that basically nobody has ever heard of, like the just most off-the-wall random stuff, and be like, this is underrated because nobody knows about it, therefore it's underrated. But I didn't want to go that route, so instead what I did is I gathered up some fragrances from well-known houses, and these are ones that I think, by and large, are, you guessed it, underrated. Ones that are better than the consensus is on them, or fragrances that are just not talked about at all nowadays, when maybe back in the day, they were a little more heralded, but now they've gone by the wayside. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about some underrated frags. I will have each of these linked in the description below in case you want to check them out. And before we jump into them, I will remind you once again that you can use the code GENTS10 at twistedlily.com or maxaroma.com for 10% off your order. Or you can be a Putz McGee and you can pay full retail price. Don't be a Putz McGee, be a big brain McGee. And at luckyscent.com, the code is GENTS2022, at least for now, which will get you 10% off there. First one I want to talk to you about is from Lalique. No, it is not Linsumi. No, it is not Encre Noir or any of the Encre Noir releases. It is this guy, Hommage à l'Homme. This is absolutely killer. This is extremely classy and gentlemanly, like you would expect from Lalique. It's smooth. It's got just a tinge of sweetness. A prominent violet leaf making itself known in the fragrance here. It's one that's going to appeal more to middle-aged guys and older. I can't imagine too many young bucks out there blasting this one on, just because it does have quite a mature vibe to it. But this is a fragrance that I got years ago, many years ago, and I remember smelling it and I thought like, oh, okay, whatever, and I sat it on the shelf and I frankly just forgot about it for quite a while, and then went back to it, sprayed it on a tester strip, and I was like, whoa, what have I been doing with my life? I mean, maybe it wasn't that much of an epiphany, but it did blow me away, as you can tell by how much has been used. So Hommage à l'Homme, yes, absolutely fantastic. That one has been a little harder to find at discounters. As of the video, it's available at FragranceNet for a good price, but it's like part of a set with, I think, a body wash or something like that, like a shower gel. So that one, depending on when you're watching this video, may be hard to find at discounters, but if you have patience, it should show back up for a good price. After that, Lacoste L'Homme Intense. This is a great versatile fragrance, a scent that you can wear daytime, nighttime, just about all year. It does lean more toward the warmer months, so it's not really a wintertime fragrance, but it does have that very good versatility. A rhubarb note in here really makes it stand out. A nice tartness to it mixes together with a zingy, fresh, sweet, slightly spicy citrus off the open. For a long time, this was very inexpensive from discounters. Nowadays, it's creeping up in price a little bit, but still pretty affordable. I will admit that the bottle is pretty jank. I mean, this looks cheap. The bottle looks like crap. It's just a very plain rectangular bottle with paint slapped over the top and a plastic cap that weighs nothing. But what's inside here is very good. We move from Lacoste to Prada. The next fragrance is Prada Amber Intense. Now, Prada is basically all about the Luna Rossa line at this point, right? Which makes sense. The Luna Rossa fragrances, easy to wear, nice quality, good versatility, good compliment factor. This fragrance, though, is so good as far as the quality goes. It's soapy, which makes sense with Prada, right? Prada, you think soapy clean, but maybe you look at this bottle, the black coloration, the intense moniker, and you think, nah, it's probably not going to be soapy. Wrong, it is. Prada bringing the soap once again. But it also has a very nice resinous feel to it. So it's like a dark soap, very rich elegant, maybe mysterious even. A great fragrance, very high quality, amber porum, intense. One of those scents that when it's gone will have this little niche of people that are singing its praises, the people that knew about it. Now this next one, some of you are not going to agree with, which is fine because some of you will disagree with all of these fragrances. But the next one comes from a line that is not heralded at all, and that's why I think this one is underrated. It is from Burberry. It is in their Mr. Burberry line. It is Indigo. Now I did wait for it to become available at discounters, and I bought it at a discount. So even though I smelled it in a store, I didn't buy it at retail, even though I did think it was much better than people were letting on. Now I do understand some of the trepidation. Mr. Burberry was supposed to be, or at least most people thought it was supposed to be, a big time blue fragrance release. Something that Burberry was going to put out that could compete with Bleu de Chanel, with Dior Sauvage. That was the expectation, especially when people saw that Francis Kurkdjian was the perfumer. But Mr. Burberry Eau de Toilette didn't really take off, and neither did the Eau de Parfum, and neither did Indigo or Element. So yeah, but there are good things about the line, and this one, I think personally, is very good. It's herbal. It's aromatic. That's something that, some people are not going to jive with. It doesn't have as much sweetness as other blue fragrances do, but I find it to be very gentlemanly, a very masculine fragrance. I personally think it smells quite nice, as I said before, and I do think that this is in general overlooked. So we go from Mr. Burberry to an even bigger fragrance line. Now, how can something from a huge fragrance line, and this one is quite huge, be underrated? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit. The next fragrance is from Giorgio Armani. It's Acqua di Gio Absolu Instinct. Now, I'll tell you guys, when Absolu Instinct came out, I wasn't really crazy about it. Yeah, actually, if memory serves correctly, when it first launched, I was kind of lukewarm on the fragrance in general. So it's not like I was, very different from how most people received this one. Now, it's not that I hated the fragrance. I didn't, but it's just, it's a flanker of a flanker. You have Acqua di Gio Absolu and then Acqua di Gio Absolu Instinct. And Acqua di Gio Absolu caught a lot of backlash because it wasn't Acqua di Gio-ish enough. Here, Absolu Instinct, though, is once again a bit more grown up than Absolu. It has a nice woodiness to it that especially comes out as it dries down. So you get a very pleasing marine freshness. Not too much citrus in here, and that woodiness mixing together with the marine notes actually works very well. And this one I revisited more and wore more when I did my Acqua di Gio buying guide. Feel free to check that out on the channel. I went through each Acqua di Gio fragrance and talked about each one of them. So Absolu Instinct, another one, overlooked a bit. Now these next two fragrances have a bit of a throwback feel to them. I'm a big fan of fragrances with a throwback feel. Stuff from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, discontinued scents. I collect those. So both of these are absolutely my style of scent. They will appeal more to guys middle-aged and older, I would say, in general. But don't worry, younger guys, there's still more stuff to come, and some of those will work better for you. So first one, Azzaro Visit. Now this fragrance smells similar to the discontinued Gucci Rush. This is inexpensive from discounters, so that's a nice positive. The bottle is quite unique, atomizer built into the top here, so you just give it a little spray like that, works pretty well. It's a very woody fragrance, kind of a papery, woody scent profile. Some people would compare it to the smell of pencil shavings, but in a good way, at least in my opinion. So if you like Gucci Rush, or you want something that smells similar to it, and you don't want to pay up Gucci Rush prices because it is very expensive on eBay, Azzaro Visit, check that out. And then after that, this one is a personal favorite, KENZO Jungle. Now the bottle here, a little bit cheesy. You got this brush on top that just made my entire body tingle in a terrible way. Like nails on a chalkboard. But yeah, the bottle I'm not too much of a fan of, but you know, it's a look. And this one is a very nice, spicy fragrance. Again, quite a masculine scent. It reminds me a little bit of fragrances in the style of Gucci Envy. It doesn't smell just like Gucci Envy, but it's not too terribly far removed from that. KENZO Jungle has more sweetness than Azzaro Visit. It's not as papery, woody as Azzaro Visit either. More of a concentration on spice here, along with those woods. KENZO Jungle. Love it. Okay, next one is an inexpensive gem. This is one that surprised me first time I smelled it. Frankly, I thought it was gonna be terrible. Thought it was gonna be trash, total crap. Then I got it in and it was surprisingly very good. It's very affordable from discounters. It's extremely wearable. You can basically pull this off anytime. And if you are unsure about the note of vetiver, this makes a great first stop. And it is Bois de Vetiver from Karl Lagerfeld. So the vetiver here is more that fresh, clean type of vetiver. You know, it's not earthy, very smoky, dark. Sometimes vetiver can be off-putting to people. Frankly, a lot of guys out there actually don't feel comfortable wearing vetiver fragrances. I'm a vetiver fan. Personally, I like it in all its shapes, forms, sizes, smells, but I do understand a lot of people can't roll with it. But this one, extremely approachable, easy going. The opening here, very fresh, very brisk, uplifting. It has blood orange and mint, so it's got this nice zesty poppiness off the top. Gives it a really appealing open. As it dries down, you get ambroxan that mixes together with that vetiver, which again helps take the edge off the stuff. So it's kind of like a modern man's do anything vetiver scent on the cheap. All right, this next fragrance at one point in time years ago, many years ago at this point, was not really a hype beast, but it was kind of like one of those hidden gem cheapies maybe, where people did talk about it a little bit. You know, it caught a little bit of traction, but it never really took off in any big way. It is Mandarina Duck Pure Black. This one's still affordable at discounters, doesn't cost all that much. Good amount of tonka in here and vanilla, so it is a sweet fragrance. Got a little bit of a powdery feel to it. It's got orange blossom in there as well, along with a little bit of citrus off the top. And for a time, people actually said that this was essentially a cheaper alternative to Chanel's Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. It's another one of those deals. It's not really a one-to-one with that fragrance, but similar to what I said with KENZO Jungle and Gucci Envy, you know, same ballpark. It's that tonka. It's got a good amount of it, like I said. But it is a very nice fragrance for fall and winter time that wears well, that has good versatility, and people do enjoy it quite a lot. So nowadays, with it being talked about by nobody, but it still being a very affordable fragrance that still works well, it's kind of dipped into that underrated sphere. Last fragrance from Trussardi, Riflesso. I've talked about Riflesso quite a number of times. I really do enjoy this fragrance. It doesn't cost that much, though the price at discounters has been rising. I think now it's closer to like $40 a bottle. Once upon a time, it was more like $25. It is a bit similar to La Nuit de l'Homme from Yves Saint Laurent. Also a little bit similar to L'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent, kind of a mix of the two. La Nuit de l'Homme. L'Homme Nuit de l'Homme. If I recall correctly, it doesn't even have cardamom as one of the notes in the fragrance, but it definitely smells like it's got kind of that vibe. Bottle is a little bit love it or hate it. I don't mind it because it reminds me of a washboard. How musical. Yeah, it sounds beautiful. But it's another fragrance that has great versatility, great usability, compliment factor, everything you look for in a fragrance. And it's not that expensive. So the only thing it has going against it is the bottle is kind of ugly. Riflesso, definitely underrated. I've talked about this a couple times on the channel before, but once upon a time I searched Macy's by best-selling, or I sorted it by best-selling men's fragrances, and that stuff was like at the very bottom. It was performing horrifically. There were fragrances that are straight up abominations against mankind that were selling better than that, and that's sad. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Those are 10 underrated fragrances. Each one of these better than they get credit for. I am out of here. Thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. Adieu. Is that? I don't know.